All right. We're back. So thank you for visiting my channel once again. I'm Shadina Rayner, registered dietitian nutritionist, CEO and clinical director of Weight Inclusive Dietitian PC. And today, so the previous two videos, we talked about how to calculate estimated nutrition needs. And also the second video in this series, we talked about how to calculate and understand the types of carbohydrates such as fiber, sugar, and starch. And this time I would like to focus in on the types of fat or fatty acids. And so let's see, let's get into it. All right, so total fat. Let's get back to our handy dandy food label. So first we have to understand that there are three main types of dietary fats, and they are known as fatty acids. The fatty acids are different from cholesterol. Cholesterol is a different unit of measurement, and it is a totally different type of molecule. It is totally different from the fatty acids. Excuse me. And so the four types of fatty acids are saturated fat, trans fats, poly and monounsaturated fats. Most food labels do not show all four of them out of an effort for the manufacturers to be able to make sure that the food label can fit on the package. So let me see. I'm going to show you an example of a food item, a food item that is that has all four of those listed. And let's see. Okay. What about this grapeseed oil? Let's see if I can find a food label in here. Nope. Boo, no food label. All right. I think Amazon will most likely have one. I should have went there first. Anywho, no, I am not promoting Amazon, and I'm not promoting this product either. Is grapeseed oil in general, as a type of cooking oil, a good choice? Yes. There is research out there that states that seed oils such as grapeseed oil may damage the mitochondria inside the cell. I'm not going to go there. I mean, if we went by everything that's wrong with some type of food, we wouldn't have anything to eat. Anyway, I have a variety of different types of cooking oils in my kitchen, and that's another conversation for another day. And so what we're trying to pay attention to here is this food label or nutrition facts. And so you can see here 1 tablespoon has about 14 grams of total fat, or 14 grams of all the types of fatty acids. And so the total fat is like the sum of all four of the types of fatty acids. So the fatty acids are, once again, saturated fat, trans fats, polyunsaturated fat, monounsaturated fats. And one day I will go into like the molecular details of the difference between each one. But today we'll just stay very surface level for the sake of the food label. So upon first glance, we look at this and we say, oh man, 14 grams of total fat. Oh my goodness. In 1 tablespoon, 1 measly tablespoon, well, we have to put this into perspective. So where is this 14 grams coming from? Is it coming from the saturated fat or the healthier fats? So examples of polyunsaturated fats are omega-3 and omega-6. An example of monounsaturated fats are omega-9s. And so would you rather for your fats to come from the omega-3, 6s, and 9s or from saturated fat? I hope your answer is omega-3, 6s, and 9s, the poly and monounsaturated fat here. So when you put it into perspective like that, you can see that the great majority of the fatty acids is coming from the healthy fats, but only very little is coming from saturated fat, and that's what we want. Now, let's compare it to something like coconut oil. Let's see if I can get to it. All right, so I am not promoting or disapproving any particular brand. Rather, we are focusing on the type of food. This is giving me all kinds of issues. Let's see. All right, there we go. So the brand once again is not important. It's just you just know that the type of food item is coconut oil. So we can see here. Let's look at this. So there is the serving size for the coconut oil is 1 tablespoon as well, and it has 14 grams of total fats. But look, oh my gosh, let's look at the ratio of this. So many grams of saturated fat, 13 grams of saturated fat per 1 tablespoon when compared to the healthy fats, poly and monounsaturated fats. There's very little of that in there. So we have to put things into perspective, the ratios of these things. So a lot of people, we think that we're doing something healthy for ourselves when we cook with coconut oil instead of butter. And in all actuality, it has almost the same effect. And here's why. So first, you have to understand how saturated fat and trans fats act in the body. So you realize that coconut oil is typically pretty solid or firm at room temperature. And that is because it is full of saturated fat. And saturated fat just means that the molecules, well, you know what? I don't even want to go there today because I said I was going to talk about fatty acids today. We'll go there another time. In general, I'll talk about the details of each kind at the molecular level at another time. So anyway, so saturated fats, coconut oil, because it's high in saturated fats, that's why it's solid at room temperature. And if you can imagine, let's say you use the coconut oil to cook a meal, okay? And so when the coconut oil hits the heat in the pan or the pot or whatever, it's going to melt. And that's fine, that's what it's supposed to do. But when we consume it, when it enters our body, the coconut oil is going to start to cool down. It's going to start to solidify a little bit. So imagine that half solid oil trying to float through your veins or your arteries, excuse me, and your heart and bypass your heart structures and everything, because all blood passes through the heart at some point. Do you think it's going to be more difficult to move, sluggish? It's going to clog that up. Of course, yeah, it's too much. It's going to become a little sticky in there because it started to cool down and solidify the saturated fat content versus something like a cooking oil that is liquid at room temperature. And when you heat it, it will, become a little more liquid or sometimes burn in some cases, depending on the smoke point. But when you consume a cooking oil with a higher amount of poly and monounsaturated fats, those are liquid at room temperature structurally. And so when you have it, it's going to stay that way in your body when you eat it, when you consume it. It's not going to harden or cause any clogging or any issues like that. It's going to keep your heart healthier longer. All right, so I hope we understand that. And so because most food labels don't have, they don't explicitly state all 4 types of fatty acids, you have to understand that this is another nuance. So the total fat is 4 grams, but there's 2.5 grams of one of those types of healthy fats. We don't know which one it is, if it's poly or mono, but it's in there. And so even here we can tell the ratio. Okay, obviously those 2.5 grams, obviously there's more healthy fats compared to unhealthy fats. So this is a good amount of, this is an okay amount of saturated fat in this situation. There's more healthy fats compared to saturated fat per serving. So we're okay with that. How many grams of saturated fat should a person have per day? Most people shouldn't have more than 20 grams of saturated fat per day. So that's just something to keep in mind. There aren't any dietary recommendations for the omega-3s and 6s and 9s unless you have a deficiency. Most allopathic traditional doctors will not test your levels of omega-3 and 6, even though they are very important to heart health, but most naturopathic doctors will. And a lot of naturopathic doctors, and sometimes I do even, will prescribe or recommend omega-3 and 6 supplementation to try to bring those levels up to protect your heart. So moving on to cholesterol, this is an okay amount of cholesterol. For cholesterol, if you want, the dietary recommendations are if you have any history, if you have ever had any history of any elevated cholesterol levels at all, no matter if you got them under control, doesn't matter, regardless, you should limit yourself to 200 milligrams or less of cholesterol per day. And to give an example of a food item, now a lot of people are going to want to beat me down because of this, but a fact is a fact, right? So one egg yolk has about 200 milligrams of cholesterol per day. You don't have to, you don't have to take my word for it. You can look it up online. No problem. Google it. or ChatGPT it'll tell you. And so, but the egg white does not have any cholesterol at all. So you have to limit if you have ever had any issues with your cholesterol at all, even if they're in order now, you're on medication, you should limit yourself to 200 milligrams of cholesterol per day or less. And if you have never had any cholesterol issues, you can have up to 300 milligrams of cholesterol per day. So with that said, this is a fairly low amount of cholesterol. Even if you can only have 200 milligrams a day, this is a fairly low amount per serving. So this is acceptable. Sodium. This is enough sodium for a darn meal. It's a lot of sodium. So on the dietary guidelines state that a low sodium food item is 140 milligrams of sodium per serving. I just try to find 200 milligrams or less of sodium per serving. And but if this was a meal, like let's say it was a lean cuisine, for lack of a better example, then I would probably be okay with it because this is for a meal. But if it was like an individual food item, I wouldn't like serving 1.5 cup of crackers. I wouldn't be cool. This is too much for that. So we can go down to we've already talked about the carbohydrate section, so I'm not going to go back into that again. The protein section, you never see any subcategories here for that. And, but what I will say about proteins, especially animal-based proteins, you want to make sure that they don't have any, if the budget allows, that they don't have any antibiotics, steroids, or any, antibiotics, steroids. What is the other one? Antibiotics, hormones, or hormones in it. If you like deli meats, try to make sure that they don't have any nitrites or nitrates. Those are like preservatives. And of course, we want our food to be preserved, but in some people, nitrites and nitrates can cause cancers, certain types of cancers. Some people are never affected by it, but in general, it's just best practice to avoid it. And you can see it usually right on the food label or in the ingredients list, whether or not they have those items. All right, so I know I'm kind of jumping around here, but I do kind of, since I'm already here on it, let me go ahead and explain the rest of the food label for those of you that don't know. So you should always pay attention to the serving size. But before that, nutrition facts is the same thing as food label. Some people use it interchangeably. When I was in dietetic school, it was just called food label. That's what the textbooks referred to it as a food label. I think it's a better terminology, but it is a nutrition fact, same difference, same thing. So this particular item has 4 servings per container, and that one serving has 1.5 cups. If you have the entire container of this, let's say it's crackers, all 4 servings, then you have to multiply the calories by 4 and everything else here by 4. If you have 2 servings, then you have to multiply here everything by 2. So that'll be 3 cups. 1.5 cups times 2 is 3 cups. So you have to multiply everything here times 2. And a lot of people don't understand that there's a serving size and a serving size per container and a serving size, per serving, like how much you should have in one sitting or in a day. So then we have something called percent daily value. I don't typically pay attention to that because it's not really applicable to most people. This information, the percent daily value, is based off of the fact that the average American is a white male, and that's okay, nothing against that, but that's what it's based off of. And so my point is that that's the reason why you don't want to use percent daily value, because I am not a white male and I do not need 2,000 calories. I only need 12 to 1,500 calories because of my stature. And I am a female. So, but what they did was they took the 2,000 calories, kind of like what I did with the estimated nutrition needs here. They took this 2,000 calories and they said, okay, of this 2,000 calories, this particular serving of total fats 4 grams makes 5% of whatever we recommended here based for fat content based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Of course, what I just said, math ain't mathin', but you get the point. So, the only time that this information, the percent daily value, may be of use is like, let's say you want to get let's say you want to get a particular amount of vitamin or minerals, a certain amount of vitamins and minerals in your food, and you don't want to take a supplement, let's say vitamin D, for example, then you want to make sure you get at least 100% total for the day of vitamin D in various food items. But most people, if you have a deficiency or something, you probably need more than well over 100% per day. And in some cases, like for iron, females need more iron than males because females of childbearing age, they menstruate, and so they need more. So that's why I say that I don't really recommend paying attention to percent daily values because they aren't really applicable to everyone, unless you're a white male and you feel like 2,000 calories meets your caloric need. Then you're all good. All right. On that note, I'm going to stop babbling. I'm a little tired. And no, I'm not going to edit anything out of this video. Thank you for watching. If you have questions, please put them in the comments and I will do my best to talk about them. Thank you, and see you soon.